We're going to need some more. This regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for August 21st of 2012 will come to order. I'll ask everyone now to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Look at this good crowd out here tonight. And you know, we didn't raise taxes, so I know you're not here to be mad at us. But we are glad, for whatever reason that you're here, we're glad that you have come to be part of our audience tonight. We have, the first item of business is the opportunity for public hearings on two different issues. The first one is Ordinance 12-10. This ordinance amends Ordinance 05-19 entitled 17 of our municipal code entitled Refuse. It rescinds Section 17-113 and 17-114 and substitutes new sections 17-113 and 17-114. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a statement in regard to that ordinance change, the proposed change? Hearing none, we move to the second issue that's on the public hearing docket, and that is Resolution 12-13, which adopts a proposed drought management plan for the city of Springfield. Does anyone in the audience wish to make a statement concerning that proposed change? Hearing none, the public hearings are closed. The next is item 1.3 on the agenda, and that's the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of July 17th and the special meeting held August 7th. Is there a motion to consider that?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, if you're in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. And now to the legislative portion of the agenda. 2.1 is, again, regarding Ordinance 12-10 on the second reading, for which we just held a public hearing. Is there a motion this be considered?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion now? Any discussion on Ordinance 12-10? Hearing none, I'll ask Ms. Watson to call the roll.
Snyder. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. 2.2 concerns Ordinance 12-11. This is a first reading, and being a first reading, it requires that it be read in its entirety, and our city clerk, Connie Watson, will do that at this time.
Ordinance 12-11, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2012 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility fund budgets. Whereas it is necessary to amend the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2012 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the City of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2012 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to expenditures and revenues within the funds and departments as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Okay. Is there a motion on this matter?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Seconded and third as well. All right. Mr. Nutter.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to explain the changes here. We finished the year, we had budgeted about the use of $495,000 in reserves. We did finish under the budget, but we did use about $400,000 in reserves, which is about 12 cents on the tax rate that you have to make up. But this is simply to move funds between departments that were in the black and some departments that were in the red. Essentially, in the general fund, we're taking $70,431 from the police department and we're using it to make up shortfalls in $5,178 in county E911 dispatch, White House dispatch of $5,324, golf course $38,132, and bonded indebtedness $21,796. The expenditures are going to remain the same at $17,720,379. Then there's a change in the sanitation fund. We're going to use an additional $34,780 in reserves and sanitation to make up for shortfalls in revenue, to make up for the shortfall in expenditures for gas, oil, and diesel, which was budgeted at $35,000 and ended up at $50,851. So the expenditures for sanitation will jump from $1,026,746 to $1,042,597.
All right, any questions now concerning these budget amendments for the fiscal year having been concluded?
I have one question.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Snyder.
Mr. Nutting, what about the E911 conflict? Are we getting any closer?
No, and I will, I've got some handouts under my report at the end of the meeting.
Any other comments or questions now about these amendments? Okay, please call the roll.
Head,
Yes.
Carneal,
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, next is 2.3. This is a resolution, 12-13, which adopts the drought management plan, which we just had the public hearing, for which we just had the public hearing. Is there a motion now?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion. Any comment, Paul?
Mayor, I'd just like to make the point that it's already been accepted, barring any other changes, that
By the state?
by the city, it has been accepted by the Division of Water Supply. I guess you could make a more restrictive requirement if you wanted to expand on it, but it has been accepted as submitted.
All right, that's fine. Any other comment before we vote? Please call the roll.
Ellis. Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Okay. 2.4 is our next item for consideration, and that's Resolution 12-14. This rescinds Resolution 12-11 in its entirety and authorizes the appropriation of funds in the fiscal 2013 annual budget for the financial aid of nonprofit, charitable, and nonprofit civic organizations in accordance with section of the appropriate section of the Tennessee Code annotated. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Now, these funds go to the Chamber of Commerce and to the Historical Society, is that correct?
Yes, sir, but there was, why we're rescinding the prior one, Mayor, is because we had the $25,000 for realizing Robertson's future was in with the Chamber of Commerce, where it's actually going to go to the Robertson County Community Foundation.
Okay, so
So the $16,000 we've been giving for many years to the Chamber stays the same.
Okay.
The $12,000 for the Historical Society that we've been giving for years remains the same. And the new amount is the $25,000 that we'll give out of the electric department budget this year to the Realizing Robertson's Future through the Robertson County Community Foundation.
Okay, that's clarified now. Are there questions pertaining to this? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Snyder. Ellis. Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay, the next item is Resolution 12-15. This resolution would declare certain property as being surplus and authorizes the disposal of such property. You have the list of said property in your, attached to your agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. I'll second it.
Y'all are really good tonight. You're participating. All right. Has been duly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the surplus property? Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make the point that we are going to dispose of our old radio system that was replaced with the trunk radio system. And you'll notice that the radios are labeled narrowband or wideband. Unfortunately, after January 1st, the wideband are not going to have any use. We can sell the narrowband. So the plan would be to sell those probably on e-gov deals. And also, there are a few minor items, about 6 pages are a radio system. And then on the very back page, you've got fire department, old uniforms, and Chief Hamill has a request later on the agenda with what to do with those by way of donation. And we have one gas-powered portable generator from the police department and a Dodge, 1999 Dodge pickup from the gas department.
Okay. All right, any further discussion?
No, I'm glad he
Go ahead. Bruce.
explained that, because I looked at all those, what, about 5 pages? And I was wondering what's the problem with all of them.
Looks like we're cleaning house.
It's gonna be
doesn't
outdated then, right?
it? That is correct. Other comments? All right, Ms. Conlon. Call the roll.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Ellis,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
All right, item 2.6 is in regard to Resolution 12-16. This would authorize the city attorney to collect the surety bond guaranteed by Lexon Insurance Company for Legacy Subdivision Section 5B for Tony Doris Builders and Developers, a limited liability corporation, unless a replacement bond in the amount of $135,080 is presented 24 hours prior to the expiration date of September 13th of this year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, this is the bond we discussed in the planning meeting. Do you have any comments on it?
George James, our Director of Codes and Planning.
The Planning Commission discussed this bond, recommended that it be extended for 1 more year. This will be the 6th year for the bond. The binder is in, the curbs are in, but the drainage and sidewalks and things like that are not. Some of the lots have been sold, therefore we need to keep the bond going, but there haven't been any houses built yet. So the Planning Commission recommended that it be extended for 1 year only.
Well, what's the expiration, 1 year from,
September 13, 2012, that'd be from September 13, 2013.
okay, all right,
Mr. Mayor.
go ahead.
Our full consensus was, since efforts were being made and people had money tied up in lots and stuff to make this, it was a painful decision, but the economy is kind of slow, so we had to kind of give a little bit.
Okay, all right, that's clear. Is everybody clear on that matter? All right, please call the roll.
Mason,
Aye.
Ellis,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Snyder,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
Okay. Now, before we start the administrative portion of the agenda, we have an additional parade or assembly request from Roberts. Well, it's actually the name of the organization. At that point, it lists the Chamber of Commerce, but it deals with Robertson County Reads, the program of providing books to young people, preschoolers, and those in the primary grades, I think. So at any rate, that's what the request is. I'm going to ask you to vote on adding that to the agenda. It would be under 3.7. There are presently 3 different parade applications, and this would be number 4 under that. If you would favor making that number 4 under item 3.7, someone needs to make the
I
motion.
make a motion that we add it to our,
And someone needs to second it.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we'll call the roll on adding that to the agenda. You're not voting it up or down, you're just adding it to the agenda. Please call the roll.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Ellis,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
All right. Now, item 3.1 under administrative, is the monthly adjustment of retail electric rates due to a wholesale fuel cost adjustment by the TVA. Mr. Gardner, our electric department, director of the electric department, have we got good news or bad news this month?
Bad news.
1.6%.
1.6. Okay. All right. And there are a lot of people in this audience who've not heard the answer to the question I'm going to ask you. Tell the audience of every dollar they pay for their electric bill, what percentage goes, what amount goes to TVA and what amount do we keep to operate the system?
Well, currently, 88 cents out of every dollar goes to TVA, and we operate out of 12 weeks.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Is there a motion now that we act on this?
So moved.
Second,
Go ahead.
Mr. Mason.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Head,
Yes.
Carnell,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Ellis, Shoemaker,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
All right, 3.2 is a similar request from the gas department. Mr. Hall, up or down? You almost offset what we did. Okay. Let's keep it up.
Take care of them.
Okay. It's not all bad news tonight.
Good job, George.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Got a question.
Go ahead.
George, at the bottom of this Tennessee Energy page, it says that the 2006 A and B refund amount of $141,900 will be mailed August the 20th. What is that?
It's the refund that TAC holds back from when we buy the 20-year block of gas. Each year they hold back so much to cover any debt we have, and then if it's any left over, each city gets their share back.
Is this an annual
Yes.
thing? Okay.
Yes.
And how does that affect rates?
We put that back into the purchase gas cost.
Other questions? Okay, please call the roll.
Ellis,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carnell,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
pass 7-0.
Okay, 3.3 is to discuss and possibly take action on a request from Springfield Electric to purchase 3 steel poles for the Adairville 69 kV transmission line from TVA. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Explain, could he explain?
Ms. Gardner?
Steel poles, there's only 2 vendors in the state. Actually, there's only one authorized vendors for the steel poles we use in the state, and that's Stewart Irby Company. But we can also get these same poles from TVA, and TVA has a program with distributors that they'll sell directly out of their stock to a power distributor at their cost, which is quite a bit lower than us getting it from a private vendor. Stewart Irby's price is $24,000 for these 3 poles, which is about $7,000 more than purchasing directly from TVA. Just requesting just to go ahead and purchase from TVA since they are a government agency, and not to have to bid this.
Sounds like a good decision. Other questions? All right.
Thank you,
Please
sir.
call the roll.
Carnell,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Ellis,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
All right, the next item, 3.4, is to discuss and possibly take action on the recommendation of donating the surplus fire department uniforms to the nationwide bereavement uniform program. There's an attachment from the city manager and an article to explain that. We need to get Jimmy to explain that.
Sure.
I ask our fire chief, Jim Hamill, to come to the podium and explain what he's requesting.
This program is from Lighthouse Uniform and the Lighthouse Uniform Company that has taken on themselves to, there's a program for firefighters that have retired and have passed away that do not qualify for a line of duty death. They've just simply retired and their family cannot afford a firefighter's dress uniform for them for burial. And this program is from the Lighthouse Uniform Company, who will refurbish and repair, sew, any problems with the suit. We have the dress uniform I'm wearing now that's available for them. It's used, and the uniforms that we do have are in fair to good shape.
All right, but these are surplus.
They are surplus
All right.
items.
Okay. The recommendation is to send them to this foundation or this program.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion while the chief's at the podium? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Ellis,
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay, next is another request from the Springfield Electric to authorize the execution of a bill of sale for the purchase of distribution lines, certain distribution lines from Cumberland Electric Membership Corporation. Is there a motion this be considered?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Gardner, I want to ask you to come back and explain that, please.
Okay, we've been trying for several years to negotiate the purchase of two distribution lines that originate at our district substation on Josephine Street. One of these lines goes through Indian Hills all the way out to the fairgrounds, and another line goes past Electrolux across Jackie Guthrie's property all the way out to Highway 76. These lines are not in the best shape. They pretty much depreciated out, but there is some cost for material, and we originally negotiated the cost to purchase from CEMC at $26,291. And instead of paying that, we thought about, well, we've done some work that actually benefited CEMC when we were building South Springfield substation. The transmission line that from South Springfield out to Highway 431, from South Springfield built on Batson Parkway out to our War Trace substation on Industrial Drive. We reconditioned that line completely, converted it to a double circuit line where we share one side, Cumberland's got the other side. In the process, we basically gave Cumberland a brand new line on their side, and the value of that work was close to $92,000, I believe. So we just asked Cumberland just to go ahead and give us these lines out of district in consideration of what they got for that line, and they agreed to do that. And they're going to sell these distribution lines to us for $1 and just need us to execute the bill of sale.
I don't think anybody can argue too much with that.
Not at all.
All right, any question or comment? Ready for me to do it? Please call.
Thank you, sir.
Please call the roll. Thank you, Robert.
Mason.
Aye.
Ellis. Shoemaker.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay, now at the top of the next page, 3.6, is to discuss and possibly take action on an appeal by Mr. Thomas Walker of a decision of the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals to require the removal of an unsafe structure at 2011 Woodland Street. This is owned, as I said, by Mr. Thomas Walker. Who from the staff is to speak to that? Mr. James, were you going to speak?
Mark Fields.
Okay, Mark, would you come forward, please? Okay, well, you think so? Okay, wait just a minute. We're going to go on and hear from, excuse me, Mark, and we're going to reverse this. Mr. Walker, would you care to come to the podium? This is Thomas Walker, who is the owner of the property. Then I'll let you follow that, Mark.
First, I'll ask if everybody will bear with me because I have a bad back and I may be a little pain. Well, my whole take on this is my first meeting with this board. I asked them how this property got on this list. No one could give me an answer. I said that I have read this, what they said, and that I thought that this ordinance needed to be revisited, and because it's not only unjust, it's unfair. And at that time, I had two members, the committee chair of that board, and another member of that board actually looked at me and said, "I'll agree with you 100%. And I asked, why am I here then? Because they used this word, dilapidated. I've been in business here all my life. I do public service for this community because I've always wanted to give back to this community. Well, I bought this property hoping to pursue the American dream like everyone else that I've been and done for everyone all my life here. I've redone properties 10 times worse than this myself, for members of everyone here that probably knows. And to call this property dilapidated without even walking into this structure is a travesty. I do not believe it is fair. I don't think I've been given due process because I have asked Mr. James personally, recorded the conversation, to have him and whoever it needed to be to come out and reassess this property, because no one has ever walked in the door of this property. And I've been in business for a long time here. I don't think there's a contractor in this state that can, or an appraiser in this state that can assess a piece of property without walking into it. And I think it's unfair, and it's not dilapidated because I have repaired projects a whole lot worse than this. And I think it's also unfair to the community, and it's also unfair to the city and the county, because who can tell anyone that, okay, you can only spend so much money on this house? Well, that's just not right. I mean, first off, if I want to spend hypothetically $35,000 and make this house worth $65,000 or $70,000, who's going to benefit? Well, if I can rent it, I'll benefit some. But if I can't rent it, the people who are benefiting is the city and the county. So why would they stop me from doing this? I don't understand it. It doesn't, it's just no logic there. I don't understand it. I think we need to revisit this ordinance because I don't think it's fair to the community. I don't think it's fair to the city. I don't think it's fair to no one. And for me to be able to do this for all these people, all these years, and try to give back to this community, I'm not trying to sway anybody because there's a fellow there that knows I've been doing Santa Claus. I've been doing it for 15 years. I do it for free because I do it for the community. I do it for the elderly. I do it for the nursing homes. I've done it for the city. Come to find out, I'm the only one that's never asked to be paid for it. It's because this is my home. I've been overseas. I'm a service-connected veteran. I'm in the middle of getting dying black to find out why they took my disability away for 27 years. And my wife became disabled, so I had to quit working on the house. I have the knowledge, folks. I have material at my house, and inside that house I have material that I can fix this house. It is nowhere near dilapidated. The mere definition of that word should not even be used with this house. And I just ask that I be given a fair share here. I'm not asking no more than that. Lord knows that's all I'm asking. Because I think, and most everyone here that knows me knows, I can do this. I can fix this house. But the state of the economy has put me in a stranglehold right now. Me and my wife just got a modification on our home. We like to lost the one we're living in. Actually, there's a person here that's going to try to help me and buy that house from me. And this person would not buy a dilapidated house. I know he wouldn't, because I've done work for this person. And everyone that, I'm sorry. I'm going to get emotional when my back's hurting, and I got tingling between my eyes. That means my heart's going to AFib, so I'm going to let it rest right there, and God bless, and may justice be served.
We thank you for stating your position, Mr. Walker. Let's let Mark. Mr. Fields. Our Codes Administrator, Mark Fields, will state the city's side of this.
Okay. I have a PowerPoint presentation if you'd like to see that. It shows some pictures of the building. Okay, this is the Mayor and Alderman appeal for 2011 Woodland Street and Mr. Thomas Walker, who you just met. Okay. The state appraisal for this house is $3,000. The slum clearance value is not to exceed $1,500. So any repairs made to this can't exceed 50% of that value of $3,000. That's where the $1,500 comes into play. The complaints about the property, mainly what brought me to the house and how I got on the list, was mainly their bricks stacked on the front porch and high grass. I had a complaint, got over there and looked at it. As I did my investigation, I found property maintenance violations. I found the building to be damaged, deteriorated, neglected for some time, to the point of it costs more to repair it than it's worth. There was a slum clearance issued by Scott McDaniel, the former codes administrator. That was done September 26th of last year, and then since he left and I took over, what we did was just started the process completely over again, so we wouldn't have to rely on what Scott had in his mind. So I made this decision. This is the north wall. Go ahead and the structure shows signs of structural and non-structural damage to the foundations, roof, exterior, and in my opinion on the interior. Right, this picture right here, you can see the studs in the wall. This is on the north wall. The siding has deteriorated, just been hanging there. There's a stud there with a nail in it. You can see the stud is deteriorated about a third of the way. The sheeting, the structural sheeting is just, it's disintegrated. This house has been probably neglected for about 6 to 8 years. Water just going into the door, through the siding down to the plate. It's just the interior wall board there would have to be, I don't know how they would remove the studs without removing the inside of the wall. So I really didn't think I needed to go inside the structure. As far as the value of the repair cost is well worth what the assessed value is. That's why I never made it an attempt to go in. Okay, that's just more of the siding. This is the asbestos shingles are loose and missing down there. The wood down there on the ground there is kind of deteriorated. This is on the opposite side of the house, on the south side. The asbestos shingles are loose and missing. And in that shadow, there's a bulge in the wall. Right there you can see there's a bulge in the wall where the wall is just, water has went through the window sash and seal, and it's rotting, and water is getting down behind that, deteriorating the sheeting, the wood, and there's creating a bulge where it's failing there. This is the kind of the back of the house where some more siding is missing. This is the band on the back corner there. It just it shows signs of insects, and it's right on the ground, and there's foundation problems there. The wood's just rotten right there. This is the window seal. It's just completely rotten, and you can take the wall and kind of move it a little bit like this. It's just not stable, and that's what's causing that bulge, in my opinion. You know, I consider this dilapidated. I consider it damaged, and it's just really, Mr. Walker's a great guy, but this building has been neglected for a long time, and it's just not. The slum clearance has a reasonable value as 50% of its worth, and if the repairs can't be made at that reasonable cost, which is 50%, then it shall not be repaired. And in order to clean Springfield up and get rid of some of the older, dilapidated structures, that's what we're using this slum clearance. This is the roof. It's a metal roof on the back part here, and it shows some sealing around the chimney. This is a hole up at the top of the soffit. There's more deterioration there. During our, we went to the construction board. Mr. Walker appealed to the construction board after I made the decision that it needed to be removed. We went to the construction board, and on May the 10th, and Mr. Walker, you know, his view was the building is worth more than $3,000. The county assessor assessed it improperly and needed a new assessment. So the construction board gave him 30 days to do a new assessment. And so during the 30 days, Mr. Walker went ahead and replaced the studs and took the wall out and started repairing it. And I put a stop work order on it because he didn't really get a permit and I didn't inspect it. So I wanted to wait till this process was complete before we did what he did. So he did stop the work, and it's been no work since then. But that's what that. This is kind of, you can't really see there's a shadow there, but the plate was not replaced. He got some studs replaced and put some sheeting on it, and he hurt himself in the meantime and couldn't really finish up. But there's been no work done since I put a stop work order on it. You can go ahead. This is what it remains on the front porch right now, and the 2012 improvement value, that's done by the state county assessment. They gave it a value of $3,000. Now they came back in May. Mr. Walker's asked for a new assessment, and they told him pretty much that it wouldn't raise any significant amount. It's worth $3,000. The house is worth $3,000, and so using the slum clearance, the reasonable value is 50%. That's $1,500. And so when I do my estimate, when I walk around the exterior and look at the walls that need to be repaired, the roof, the foundations, I come up with $23,790 is about what I figured. And then I do it a couple different ways. At $20 a square foot, it was like $25,000. So a lot of contractors will bid a job to repair stuff at like between $20 and $40 a square foot, and I'm taking the low end of that, and that's $25,000 to fix. That's what I think it's going to cost to fix the house, but the house is only worth $3,000. It's not reasonable, and the slum clearance, that's why we're using that. These are the figures that I came up with, different ways and these are just estimates, you know, just my estimates of what I find. And you can go ahead. In my opinion, the structure is so old and dilapidated, it's out of repair and unreasonable to repair within the requirements of the Springfield Municipal Code, Title 12, Chapter 9, the slum clearance ordinance that we've adopted. The structure is dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, and otherwise unfit for human habitation. The structure violates the building code, violates the property maintenance code. My inspectors concur, and the fire official concurs with this judgment. And that's pretty much my presentation. Are there any questions?
All right, while Mr. Fields is at the podium, are there questions of our building official?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
How long has this house been empty?
I've been with the city 7 years, and it's been vacant the whole time I've worked for the city. I don't know exactly how far back, but 7, 8, 10 years.
I would like to stand there and address what this man said.
Well, just you have stated your position. Now, we just asked,
I'm talking about what everybody just seen, Mayor.
well, tell us, how long have you owned the house?
2003, and 3 months after I bought it, my wife came in a car wreck and became disabled, and I take care of her.
Okay, you have purchased materials to repair it.
There's material there, and no, my whole point, biggest point is that I talked to Mr. James. I actually, like I said, I asked him to come out and reassess it because Mr. Fields said, as he showed on the pictures, that this was all just metal, gone. There's only 2 places on that roof is where the corners would come up and the screws would come out, and that was it. I'm a 300-pound man. Where he said that the window will move, I ran into it. It won't move.
Okay.
And somebody had to tear that metal off. I've been mowing that yard for 9 years, and that metal has never been tore off. Somebody had to tear that loose to look under there to see that window.
Okay, all right.
And there is a block foundation all the way down the other side of that house where he showed that wall that's been done. And I took pictures, I got pictures of it, and no one from this board has ever set foot in this house and seen what's been done inside. So how can it be a proper assessment?
All right, you have made your position, and you've answered the question that I've asked you. Mark, just remain there for a minute. Mr. Ellis, did you have anything else?
What, did I see a for sale sign?
Yes.
Has that been for sale for most of that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Other questions of the board? Am I right?
This is a very tough situation.
It is tough. We're doing this every day.
It's tough in so many ways, you know. I mean, everything this man said is the truth. Is there any deviation that we can give him a few months to see whether he can?
My personal feeling is that, you know, I'm trying to apply the code as it's written.
And I understand it. Okay.
And I'm going to do Mac Baggett and Kay Jackson and Mike Justice and everybody else in this town the same way. So when I come up on a structure that is dilapidated and it exceeds the value and it needs to go, in order to clean the town up, we're going to have to do this hard deal. It is hard. I like Mr. Walker, he's a great guy, but his property's been neglected and somebody's going to have to say it's got to go. And I signed up for that job, fortunately.
Oh, yeah, I'm not questioning that, sir.
All right, are there any other questions of Mr. Fields? Bruce, did you have anything?
I got questions, Mr. Walker.
All right, Mr. Walker, if you answer Mr. Head's question, please.
Mr. Walker, if you were allowed to repair this property, what period of time would you need?
I mean, I have a lot of material there. I have a lot of material in my house. I've got people who really have it. I was already going over there to start it when Mr. Fields stopped me. And I've had people say that without me. I've got, like I said, a lot of the material. I could have this up. I could have had this thing ready a long time ago if I had wanted to do just that. But I was trying to get it up to where something the city could be proud of. It's something, because that's what I've done for everybody that I've done here, and I wanted to do that. I'd like to get it up to the codes for Section 8 so I could put it or for the hospital, or somebody in this community, came in this community, got hurt, and was in that hospital, and they had kids here hurt, and they couldn't have nowhere to stay. I could fix that house up and have it where they have a place to stay if they needed to. whatever I needed to do. I mean, even if I even asked the board if there was any way that I could get a grant through the state to do that, just so for the community, so I could have a safe house there for someone to come to stay there. If somebody out of the community came or in the community that needed a place while their loved ones being looked at. I mean, I can do it easily within 6 months. Because I've already had people tell me if they'll take work order, stop work order off there and let you get the lights on, within 6 months we'll have that house something, because nobody's ever walked inside of it. The inside is not nowhere near as bad as what it appears to be outside, and the appearance of the outside where all them shingles are missing, people have stowed them. When I bought that house, people in the area have stowed them because they're missing one. They didn't want their house to be put on this clearance, so they stowed them off my house. And I've seen people that the bricks there are there to help. The bricks and blocks on the front porch are there for the finishing of the foundation on the left side of the house. There is a foundation, and I've got pictures on my phone, but there is a block foundation all the way to the kitchen on the back of that house, and the rest of the house that does not have a foundation falls under the grandfather clause, and it shouldn't be. I should be allowed that because the grandfather clause should cover all that other stuff because it was done in the early 1900s. The front part of that house, all that wood looks bad on the bottom, that's solid oak. It's not as bad as you think it is. Pressure washer would clean that green off there, and that hard wood is still just as hard as you think. Like I said, I was running around hand hobby around that house and ran into it myself with my own arms. You can, Mr. Bills, there's no way. If you can walk over there and run through that wall, I'll give you that house.
Okay, Mr. Head, did that answer your question?
I think so.
Mr. Shoemaker, I saw your hand first, then Ms. Snyder. Go ahead.
One point of clarification. Standard appraisals, the last few times my house has been appraised, the appraiser never set foot inside the house.
Right.
They
No,
do
typically they don't.
exterior measurements unless it's something of a
they
historic,
don't.
okay. So
And
just-
usually it's a lot more than what it is worth. I wish they'd give me my money for my house if they assess it at. Usually it's never on the low end, it's always on the high end. They'll assess it for, as much as they can get them for it.
Right.
So this is just the opposite of that.
Okay. And second question, Mr. Walker, if you say that this can be brought to code satisfaction in 6 months?
Yes, sir. I mean, actually, the people that I've had come to me and tell me, they know not different. They know what my husband's like. VA had, my wife lived, and I was going to die in 2010 because of my heart because of an incident that happened in this city. I was hit on a motorcycle, sitting still. Police officer wrote a bad report, a short report, said it was less than $400 having done to the motorcycle. It was $3,000 done. I had a mini stroke because of it. The VA waited 8 months to tell me I had that stroke. And the police officer, after I confronted him about that report, changed the report. I have both reports where he changed it. I approached the police along with that report. This is $50,000, well above a $50,000 lawsuit. I never said nothing to the city because I'm not that kind of person. This is my city.
All right.
I don't want to follow suit in this city.
Okay, Mr. Walker.
I'd like to-
That's enough now. Thank you. Mr. Shoemaker, is your question answered?
So if this board were to vote that way in 6 months, would you have any problem if we tore it down if it's not to codes?
I'll have the outside where there's not a contractor in this country to be able to look at it and say.
No, I mean everything, electrical, plumbing,
He's meaning the
lock,
entire-
stock, and barrel.
Well, I mean, if they just done the assessment on the outside, I should be allowed the same allowance if they just walk around and look at it again, that it's up to codes. I mean, they should have walked inside and done the full assessment, because it was my fault that assessment is as low as it is. I approached the assessor and asked him to do it so I could save money on taxes because of my financial situation. It was at $36,000 the way it was, and I have done a lot of stuff to that house that nobody knows about. It took 7 trailers of stuff that was in the back of that property to get it cleaned up. Also, that property, I asked the city to remove a tree that was on the power lines that was falling down and hit the sidewalk. It was going to hurt anybody. The city said, yes, we will. They never did. I did.
Okay, that's sufficient now. Ms. Snyder?
Mr. Fields, what date did Mr. Scott McDaniels put this on the slum list?
September the 26th, he made an order that it should be removed and had it on the slum clearing.
Of this year?
2011.
2011, I mean.
September 2011, Scott McDaniel I found it, I went over there and did the investigation, and I found it. I brought it back to Scott, told him it needed to be looked at. He agreed it needed to be on the slum clearance, and we did a slum clearance hearing. And he called Mr. Walker, and Mr. Walker couldn't make the date of our hearing. So they did meet on the phone and talked like October, did it in October, and then, so it'd been kind of in a, it'd been floating there, and he left. I thought the best thing to do would be start over from scratch with this, so.
And you started over with certified letters?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes,
It's
ma'am.
okay.
Other questions from the board now?
Can I ask one more?
Yes, you may.
Can I have part B?
You sure can.
Can I address our city attorney? If, the last time we had this come in front of us, and if we take into consideration the health issues that Mr. Walker's had, are we setting ourselves up for a lawsuit with Mr. Baggett and the previous people?
It could be considered arbitrary. I mean, our code just doesn't allow a lot of room for variation on that 50% rule. And arbitrary actions set yourself up to have other decisions overruled.
I have a C question, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm a geek. Appraisals. I can't remember why we're doing the improvement value versus the market value from the tax card. Will you refresh me?
The improvement value is the structure alone,
The structure alone, okay.
and that's what we base that, our number on.
And that's from our ordinance, correct?
That's our ordinance is the 50% value. Now, they can get a private appraisal. If they didn't think their tax information was correct, he's had opportunity to get a private assessor to make that evaluation. He's chose not to.
Okay.
But anybody, Mac Baggett, the ones we've done in the past, they were all done the same way.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
All right. Are there any other questions by the board? Mr. Nutty is asking.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry that Mr. Walker has had such a hard time. The fact is, the house is not livable. And it's going to be an injustice to Mr. Walker to put all this money in and realize we're going to have to still condemn it when it's all over. It's not worth anything. And the problem is we've had to deal with this neighborhood by neighborhood. It's not just Mr. Walker's problem, it's the neighborhood's problem. People have been complaining about this house for some time. And once you start making these exceptions, you have a rule that, we've covered a lot of people with. And the moment you start making exceptions, this is going to be the end of the slum clearance program on any type of schedule. And I just think it's an injustice to Mr. Walker to send him down the path thinking that he's going to get something that is never going to meet the code. He doesn't have the resources to have it meet the code. It may be acceptable for him, but the people that are going to live there, whether it's him and his family or people who rent the property, it's got to meet the code. Everybody agrees it's a bad situation. And I don't think anything's going to really change too much if we walk into that house. And, if you feel more comfortable that he gives us permission to see the inside, that's fine, but I don't think it's going to change anything. The house virtually has no value because it's been neglected. And when you take something that has no value virtually, paying very little in taxes, and you make an exception in this case, then we might as well just stop the program right now.
All right, we've had all the discussion.
I'll take that. But what I want to say is,
No, sir.
you give me 6 months, I'll have the whole house within that.
We've heard you now.
Within code,
Thank you.
inside and out.
You've had ample opportunity to state your position.
I'm the one that's moving here.
You're out of order. Now, we have not taken, there's no motion before you. Does anyone want to make a motion as to a particular action that you want to take? If you want to uphold the decision of the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals, that may be your motion, or if you have something else in mind, the floor is on. We're not quite as quick on the motions and the seconds right now, are we? It's tough.
It's extremely tough, because knowing your quality of military service, knowing that you are the good person that you are, but to find you, Thomas, in this 50-50 deal, you know, you know, it's kind of, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. But we have to listen to what the attorney is saying and a few others that said. And no, we're in a precarious situation. It's not that we don't have the compassion, but we're caught between a rock and a hard place. We're caught between a rock and a hard place.
All right, is there a motion forthcoming for the board? If not, the appeal will stand.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Put to the vote. And I know we're in a hard place, but, you know, if this board's a rubber stamp, then this shouldn't have come before us.
That's true. Got to do it.
So I'll make a motion that we allow Mr. Walker 6 months from this date to make the necessary repairs to bring it up to codes. And if he does not, is not able to achieve that, then we'll proceed with removing the property.
I second that.
All right, is there any
On
further?
this one thing.
Well, you can't change his motion.
No,
then.
I'm not changing the motion. 6 months. Front to back. Impeccable, or it's going. I love you to death, but it's going.
All right. Is there a second? You've got a second. Any discussion now? Yeah.
Not work order being removed so I can do this?
Will, depending on how they vote.
Well, I just thought I'd ask, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You have to have a licensed contract.
All right, the motion is before you.
You have to have a licensed contract to do that work. It's not allowed to do that. It's not allowed to do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's part of stipulations. Exactly.
Do the code.
Okay. Now, let's state that. We're not discussing, yeah, I want you to state that, Mark, how that would be. That work has to be, because we want this, we've got to be sure this is, everybody's clear on this.
Just so we're all clear, that the work has to be done by a licensed contractor, because that is for sale or rent. State law says you can't do your own home work. So you'll have to get a licensed contractor to do that work. He can't pull a permit.
Oh, we've heard you.
The licensed contractor will have to pull the permit. And there is nothing grandfathered. When you do a remodel and you're doing that, that is all to be to code from the footings up. There you go.
All right, that's been stated. That's how it has to be.
That's fair enough.
All right, motion's been made, duly seconded. Any other comment on the motion? Call the roll, please.
Snyder.
No.
Carneal.
No.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Yes. Shoemaker.
No.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
No.
Mason.
No.
Failed 2-4.
All right, we move to the next item. We have 4 parade applications. First item is a request from the John Hunt Morgan Camp of Sons of the I realize we've had a distraction, but I'll ask for attention by the audience. The John Hunt Morgan Camp, which is a unit of the Sons of the Confederate Veterans, to hold a dedication of Confederate Memorial at the courthouse on September the 23rd. The memorial ceremony will start at 3 p.m., end at 5 p.m. Parade application has been approved. Chief Thompson, is that correct? All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion?
Discussion. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
as a Vietnam combat veteran, I definitely favor this consideration because these soldiers died for a particular cause that they believed in, and I favor it. I'm not favoring the cause, but I favor the dedication from a combat veteran's position, because every other American veteran has a statue or memorial. On the other end, to this council, since we're going along with that major conflict, let us consider also making a memorial to the colored troops of the Union that was here. Let us also consider making a memorial to the slaves who bore the brunt of this conflict. And so that's all I have to say about the matter.
Well said. All right, any further discussion before we vote? If you favor this parade application, vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. Second parade application is from the Fair Association to hold the annual opening of the fair parade. This will be on this coming Monday, the 27th, from 5 to 6:30, beginning at 10th Avenue to Memorial, and then back down Memorial northward to the fairgrounds. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Please call the roll.
Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Snyder.
Yes.
Ellis. Carneal.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Don't leave me out, come. Okay. Number 3, Springfield High School to hold their annual homecoming parade on September the 28th from 4 to 4:30. Parade begins at 10th and Main, northward on Main to 5th Avenue, and then west to the football field at the middle school. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Please call the roll.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Win some games, aye.
You gotta vote before you say your aye. Okay. We're gonna win some games.
Pass 7-0.
All right, now, Robertson County reads to have that, what was the date of that one? Wait a minute. That is on September 15th, and this is it's not actually parade, but it's just to close the West Court Square and 6th Avenue, as many of our assemblies on the courthouse square are. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, thank you. Now, 3.8 is a request from the Public Works Department to extend the street repair and maintenance contract for an additional 12 months with Sessions Paving. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Mason.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, we move now to 3.9. This is a proposal to consider a proposal from Gresham Smith and Partners for their engineering services for the ongoing drainage problems at the sinkhole in the detention pond, which serves the greater Queen Anne Court and Bill Jones Industrial Drive area. Is there a motion to consider this proposal?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nutting, I've got you, I'm going to let you lead off, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Hogan.
As you know, the construction of this project and the acquisition of properties is going to be funded with a bond issue. So we can't get too far out in front of this. If we do this before we sell the bonds, then we can't reimburse ourselves. But there were motions made by the board, and I want to advise everybody that those motions are being acted upon. We have secured an appraiser, Carol Croft, who's looking at 2402, 2406, and 2408? 25, I'm sorry, 2502, 2506, 2508. the three that we haven't purchased yet. Be ever mindful that in 2011, we borrowed $57,000 to purchase 2506. So we do have some money to purchase that. And it's in a reserve. It's not specifically budgeted for this year, but we do have it in the reserve. Also, Alan and I were talking today about the engineering contract, and we believe that we have enough money that we can move around in the stormwater management budget, that we can get this contract underway for the full amount. And then we'll pay the purchasing of the other properties and all the construction and the contract administration out of the bonds when those are sold. And if we sell them in December, we should have the money in January, and then we could move forward from there. So my recommendation is to approve the contract in the amount of, with Gresham Smith, the amount of $46,060.
All right, Mr. Hubbard, you had.
Yes, I would like to really comment on this. First of all, phrase one, I concurred with. Secondly, the railroad caused the problem. Thirdly, to remind us of a compatibility thing that was set by the first house purchased. So as we think about purchasing the other homes, let's look at that $120,000. It's going to be, and I've checked with my lawyer, and he said, that those household owners may look at that $120,000 that we spent, okay? So when we make our appraisal, let's keep that in consideration, and secondly, it was said to hurry along this process because of September and October rains. Am I right, Alan? Correct me. And so, we can't afford to have much procrastination in this process. And thirdly, my vote, fair treatment to everyone. And I'll shut up.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this proposal. Is there any additional comment or other questions before we vote? We've discussed this problem over an extended period of time. It's very frustrating, and some solution needs to be found.
Got to have big shows like Doc Cherry told us. Call a spade a spade.
Bruce, you look like you want to talk.
I think it'd be premature to engage an engineer at this point. Basically engaging engineers is almost like agreeing that we're going to complete the project. I think that's premature. I think we need some legal question answers about the city liability before we proceed. That's my viewpoint.
Okay. That's all you want to say on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are there other questions or comments?
Yes, may I ask?
Mr. Ellis?
When you talk about legal responsibilities, where are you headed?
What is the city's, is the city liable for what's going on here? Or some other party responsible, and how should we proceed with that?
May I ask our lawyer?
Just wait just a minute. I'm going to direct that. Let's call on Mr. Balthrop, our attorney. Mr. Balthrop, you want to delve into this matter?
I can partially answer it. I need some time for research to fully answer it. I honestly think there's immunity for granting or failing to grant building permits as far as liability. Now, whether or not, I also think it's definitely spending money for a public purpose to get that cleared up out there. I think you're okay doing that. Now, I'm not as comfortable with what's happened with the sinkhole. As far as the city owns that sinkhole. If some of this can be traced to not keeping that sinkhole clear, I'm not sure there's not some issues there as far as liability is concerned.
restate what you said, please, sir, at the first part of that about immunity relative to the granting of the building permit?
I think a discretionary act like granting or not granting a building permit has got governmental immunity. Then nobody's ever shown me any different.
All right, are there other questions of our attorney before we vote?
Just another statement.
Mr.
What Mr. Hubbard was talking about, what we paid for the other house was an appraised value, if I'm not mistaken. We didn't just come up with a number.
Right.
Sure we.
No, there was an appraisal done.
And these houses are going to have appraised value. We can't just up and say we're going to give $30,000 more than the appraised value. I don't think we can do that at all. And I know that some of the houses were appraised considering the water behind them. I mean, maybe those last ones, I'm not sure. But I don't think that one sets the tone for the rest. They are all appraised values. Has to be. I don't think the city can go out there and pay additional money.
May I discuss this with him? First of all, you have to understand, these three houses in question right now were in better shape than this house that we paid $120,000 for, okay? Particularly the house that's on the hill that's to the left of the one that we paid for. So it's going to be difficult for you to give me less money than what you paid for the 120. Now I'll just gonna reveal my church member, one of the best corporate attorneys in Quinn White, who went over this with me, okay? And he's talking about that compared to $120,000 we paid, it's gonna be hard for us to get away from. So, I mean, I'm just putting it out there to you, okay?
Good debate.
Well, then why are we having appraisals done?
There's the other side of it. We have to have appraisals before we can pay anybody anything.
Exactly.
That's why we have appraisals. So we have to be looking at those appraisals and consider those. Ms. Snyder?
I'll put my banking hat on for a second. Appraised values change frequently. Appraised values today are not what they were in 2007 according to our tax cards, and we only give loans based on appraised values, a certain percentage of those. We just need to wait and see what those appraised values are and decide what we're going to do for these folks.
Now, this proposal before you tonight is to adopt this, is to either accept or reject this proposal with Gresham Smith.
Is this for the work they already know?
It's for what was outlined that they would do in phase one, am I correct?
Which is cleaning out the sinkhole, right?
Well, task one specifically says
it's this
that
side
the
of the
city
railroad.
wishes to purchase 3 homes. And
But
we have
it's
not
not,
yet
but
voted
you
on
don't purchase it yet until you get the appraisals, nor are we agreeing to an amount.
You could just agree to the agreement, approve the agreement, and just tell them, don't start the work until we get the appraisals back and decide what we're going to do.
But then when we have to rescind the agreement, if we said if this board votes we're not going to buy these houses, then we have an agreement we've already voted to accept.
What happens if one of the homeowners, we
got a
can't make an agreement?
Yeah, you've got a complicated situation here. The purpose of buying the houses is so you can do the excavation to create a larger detention problem, a pond, so you can hopefully, along with improvements to the sinkhole, you hope you could solve the problem. We still argue about who caused the problem, and most of us sitting here believe the railroad expansion from 1 track to 2 caused the problem. But that hadn't been proven in court yet, so until we can get that done, and it won't likely be done, it might be done in this century, but they're too fast.
Mr. Ellis.
Since we got here.
Beg pardon?
Mr. Ellis.
Mr. Ellis, this is our Public Works Director, Mr. Alan Ellis, not to be confused with Mr. Jerome Ellis at the office.
Hanson.
Bruce, what this is to start the procedures. It's got to be topoed, it's got to be calculations made to see how much you're going to be taking, and also to do construction plans on the excavation. That's what we're trying to do here. that is split up in two. You may have read what they proposed. I think it's 30,000 to do one thing and something the other. Now, I'm sort of hit. I didn't know we were back on this again as far as buying the houses or not. If we're going to move on with this thing, we've got to get stuff started. It won't be, if I turn them loose tomorrow, we know we're not going to buy the houses now for a while, for a few months. With the procedures you had to go through, the appraisals and all that, we're not going to get anything done this winter, in my opinion. I was hoping to have some of it done this fall, but I don't see any way with this going on. If you want to postpone this 30 days, I'm fine with it to see what you want to do. But purposely, everything they're going to be doing as far as topos, calculating detention ponds, how much we're going to be excavating, is all going to be used somewhere down the line that we'll have to have. If we chose not to buy the houses, you're still going to have to know, well, we're going to have to do something one way or another. Liability, I can't answer you that. So.
All right, you have a motion and a second that we proceed with this contract. That's what's before you. Anything further before we vote?
Yes, could we amend this, and I'm just asking this question, to, for this group not to start until we have purchased the houses, until we've agreed on, now, at least we'll know where we were there, and,
if we agree tonight. Is that right? Is that working on part of the, well, that's not right either.
Past ones with Judge Hall.
Well, they gotta do the grading, number 5, on the sinkhole.
First task will be calculations, doing the topo, doing the calculation. If you take out this much dirt, if you take out this house, what the elevation is going to be on a 100-year storm, that kind of thing.
And we own, on number 5, we already own the sinkhole, so they'll work on that.
Yes, but the excavation they'll be working on is on the south side of the track, on the Queen Anne side.
So
Their initial number take out more material on the south side as well as some on the north. If you've driven by there, you notice we've already started working on the north side.
Right, I saw your equipment.
Trying to take some trees out, and we're going to excavate some dirt there to go to the golf course and some other places to do some.
I'm just trying to understand, if we vote not to do it tonight, are we stopping some of this work that's in the sinkhole that could cause the fall rains that you talked about at our last meeting? I'm kind of concerned about not voting on it, but I don't know that we're agreeing to the houses either. I agree with Mr. Head on that part.
Okay, we bounced this back and forth. You know what's before you. You see the scope of this particular action.
That's just done for you.
You may ask the third, sir, at home.
I'm putting it on your shoulder.
Well, it's up to you. You can defer it, or you may approve the agreement and just not execute it until you've got your appraisal. But I see no problems beginning work. I understand Mr. Personally, I think whatever the liability is, we may have to wrestle those issues with the railroad at some time to help us pay the debt service on this, if we can ever get to that. I just think it's a very difficult situation for the homeowners, and I think everybody be best served if, you know, the remaining 3 houses there that we talked about were removed.
All right, motion's before you, duly seconded. Hearing no objection, we're going to call the roll.
Snyder. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
No.
Head.
No.
Ellis.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 5-2.
All right. The next item is to discuss and possibly act on a proposed lease agreement for the Bransford Community Center. Mr. City Manager, you want to speak to this?
Well, I am going to let Mr. Balthrop speak to this, if
Mr.
that's
Balthrop?
okay, Mayor.
Let me just pass around a proposed outline. It's very short. I have not actually prepared a lease agreement. I need some guidance from the board, frankly, on this.
So you're sending a suggestion
Yes, sir.
to us? Okay.
And probably don't want to vote on it tonight.
Okay.
Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I am a member of the board for the Bransford Revitalization Project, as are some other city officials. And I think you need to be aware of that.
All right. You want to just take this for under advisement then, and I mean, we've had a pretty lengthy discussion.
Yes,
We've still got, I know there are 1 or 2 people in the room that are anxious for us to get to another item, I know at least 2. So if there's no objection, let's just take this could be your bedside reading for tonight. And
It's pretty short on legalese, eh?
Thanks, Jim.
That's fine. If I don't hear an objection, we're going to move on. Next, number 3.11 is to discuss a request from the YMCA for funding in the amount of $20,000 to assist in their after-school program that would assist Springfield Middle School students, and I think Ms. Ragland from the Y is going to speak. Would you like to come to the podium, please? We welcome you to the meeting.
At the Robertson County Family YMCA, we believe all kids deserve the opportunity to discover who they are and what they can achieve. Student success out of school can impact how well they perform in school. Studies show participation in after-school programs help boost school attendance and academic performance and reduces gaps in academic achievement among children from disadvantaged households. The children from economically disadvantaged households have by far the largest gaps in test scores in Robertson County. According to the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, studies say that youth who participate in high-quality after-school programs have better grades and conduct in school. Participants enrolled in after-school programs were a third less likely to experiment with drugs and had, in some cases, cited a 50% lower teen birth rate. Juvenile crime rates tripled during the first hour after school, according to FBI statistics. Crime is at its highest during the afternoon and early evening hours. Teen after-school programs highlighted by the Commission have seen 50% reduction in youth crime in their communities. Many children today, right here in our own city, are in need of healthy educational options after school. That is where we come in. We believe our youth deserve every chance to grow up and be everything God gave them the potential to be. We are asking you tonight to join us in making this program a success. We're going to go forward with this program with or without your help. However, with your help, we can affect change in the lives of so many more young people. We already have secured agreements for collaborations to date with Robertson County School System, Centerstone, Willow Oak, Open Door, and Tennessee Kids Nutrition. And it's a program that we would offer 4 to 5 times a week, depending on what we work out with the 21st Century Grant at the middle school.
Do you have any idea at this point the number of students that you would be serving?
We would probably at this point need to cap it at 50. We could have potential to do many more, but 50 would be a stretch for us with our current staffing structure, and so that's the reason why we're asking for help from the city.
People who would be working, personnel that would be working with these youth, would they be in addition to your regular staff or additional hours for present staff, or just how would that work?
Yes, we'd have additional hours and we would have to hire additional staff. The staff currently that we have, Courtney, I think Woodard would be the only one that is on salary. So everybody else would either be additional hours that we're not currently paying them, or we'd have to hire new staff to be able to cover that.
Have contacts been made with Dr. Grant Bell at the middle school or other appropriate people?
We've had discussions with Mr. Whitlow and also with Angie Beasley Murray, who runs the 21st Century program at the middle school. Not yet with the principal, no.
Okay. All right, are there other questions of Ms. Radley?
Transportation, I understand that the county has a pretty easy role. They're going to run a bus from Springfield Middle to your facility. What's your plan on getting kids who could be from anywhere in the city back home?
That's part of the issue that we're asking for funding for. We have an opportunity to rent a bus from another YMCA in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area that's not currently utilizing that bus. The payment, however, as low as we can get it is $600 a month. So that would be an additional expense that our YMCA isn't able to incur.
And when would you, as plans are now, you're going to move forward with it?
Yes.
Have you set a starting date for it?
We have not, because we're trying to see how many kids we can take, and so that is dependent a lot upon you. So,
is there a target date?
Yes, we'd love to have it as early as possible. We have staff that we believe we could ask to work those hours and be available when we need them for that program. Probably within a month's time, we'd be able to get that up and running. We would have to have, obviously, the paperwork from the parents to give them the waiver to be at the YMCA, and also the school district would need to have that taken care of. So if the bus routes would change, they'd be able to do that for the children. So we have worked out with them that we would send that paperwork out and probably just take the first however many kids we can take. We're hoping that would be 50.
All right. Are there other questions of Ms. Radcliffe while she's before us? Ms. Snyder?
I have to say, I have to commend the YMCA. I am on the board, and I will have to state for the record, if we decide we're going to vote, I'll have to abstain. But congratulations to the YMCA for what they're doing for our community. And thank you to the Chamber, the YMCA, our Chief of Police for meeting on Monday night about the gang issue a week ago. And it was a tremendous crowd in the room. There was probably 65 to 70 people who tried to talk about what we're going to do to address the gang issues in this city. So I commend the YMCA and the Chamber. It was a great meeting.
Are there other questions now?
I just would like
Ms.
to
Ellis,
make
go
a
ahead.
comment. Now, when to get them to your place is going to be real easy. At the middle school, they'll just put them on one bus, and that bus is going that way. It can be part of their route.
Okay.
Now, to get them home is a whole different story.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to take them to different homes all over Springfield.
That's correct.
And I'm not sure that one bus, and I know, first of all, it can't hold 50, but maybe some parents would pick them up. But it's going to take somebody a long time to carry 30 students home individually all over Springfield. Now I guess I'm saying, in your planning, I don't know whether you need a big, I guess you need everything you get, but maybe a couple of smaller buses that, of course, run from different parts of Springfield. But the program is good, and it's something that you can't lose with. I mean, this other question, and it'll have to be determined if we decided to give any money, to the program. We can't just, I don't think the city can just write a check for $20,000 or $10,000 and not have a clue where it's going and who would you make it to and what's, I think we've got to know what those plans are also.
We could absolutely provide that.
Before we can do that.
Yes.
I hate to, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Hope.
I hate to be negative, and this probably for your watch. We went into the agreement with the swimming situation.
Way before my watch.
Way before your time, yes. The YMCA didn't really live up to it, and the targeted kids didn't get the services that we need. I concluded a program for 8 years dealing with this. And $20,000 just for 50 kids, that's just a little too expensive, okay? Because I ran at least 100 kids a week through my program, which is just quite effective. So for the target group, you know, I'm just not really sold that you're gonna reach the target group. And like Mr. Ellis, to donate $20,000 and not really get my money's worth, okay? I can just turn loose. And no disrespect to you, okay?
Any other, Mr. Mason?
How do you go about selecting the student to enter this program?
We would follow probably the same guidelines that the 21st Century Grant is working under, and they work with the guidance counselors at Springfield Middle. I understand they're excellent there, and the principal, and then the teachers. And we would take children that they identify as kids who could really benefit from such a program, who are either needing academic assistance or are having maybe some conduct issues in school that they feel like if they had some additional maybe male role models, such as Mr. Woodard, that they'd be able to benefit from such a program.
Thank you.
Mr. Eigler, I want to just add, if everybody's through talking, I think this program's needed. I think it's critically needed. I think before we can support it financially, we're going to need more details. And for example, and I'm not suggesting this, but let's just say you determine that your cost for transportation from the Y home is $600 a month, or maybe more than that. And you come back and say, this is what we need, you know, this is what we're going to use the money for. I would suggest that you come back to us at our next meeting with a more definite request that earmarks exactly what you think this would do. By that time, you'll be in a better position to determine the eligible students. But I agree that this type program, for all the reading that I've done and what I know about the problem, is probably the single best thing that we can do. And we want to be part of that. Of course, it is complicated in that this is the second month of the fiscal year and we're being asked for $20,000, so we've got to know where that's coming from. But we would welcome your bringing that detailed proposal back to us as soon as you can.
Okay.
Move to defer.
Well, there isn't a motion, so we'll just, if there's no objection, we'll leave it that way. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we have a request from the library for $2,000 and some odd dollars so that they can, the county has appropriated the same amount so that their employees can get a 2.5% pay increase, which was done for city and county employees. What is your pleasure? The amount is $2,166.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
They do an excellent job. So.
Where is it going to come from?
I don't know that. We're going to ask our city manager to see what he can do.
Well, first of all, anything that we go over budget, we try to take it from savings from somewhere else, and if we don't, then we'll have to take it from reserves. But as you know, we're pretty much finish under budget every year. It's just how much we're going to finish under budget. It's really not a whole amount of money.
All right. Have a motion and a second?
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Ellis.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. We move to the consent portion of the agenda.
Move to accept the whole consent.
That cuts off debate. Please call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Ellis.
Abstain, please.
Mason.
Aye.
Pass 6-0 and 1 abstain.
All right. Mr. City Manager, you're on task.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And I'll try to make this brief. First of all, I'd like to state that Police Lieutenant Jeff White will be retiring, and congratulations to Jeff for his appointment as Chief of Police in Ridgetop. And I think I speak for everybody in recognizing what an excellent job Jeff has done for this community in the 32 years that he served it. and he's going to be an excellent police chief for Ridgetop, and we're giving him all the support that we can, and we wish him the very best of luck. Also, want to give you a real quick resolution. We don't have to talk about it much. We talked about it last summer. As you know, when we've changed the election date, and in the charter, we neglected to change the appointment date for the mayor, the vice mayor. So this is a proposed resolution that would, I think you approved this last year, but we got busy doing something else and didn't get it to the legislature, which is probably just as good. That we'd been there a couple years before with the charter change, so probably an extra year isn't going to hurt. But I would like to bring this back a little later in the year, maybe after November, when we're getting closer to when the General Assembly is going to meet. So that's just for your information. I did want to give you some numbers here for your edification with regard to the dispatch costs. I talked to Mayor Bradley, and he doesn't see any movement on the county side at this point. I have suggested to him that one of the things he might look at, if we lose some Springfield dispatchers or White House dispatchers due to attrition, that some of the existing dispatchers in the county that have been assigned to other duties be slipped in to replace those, and that way they wouldn't have to put out cash or terminate any of their existing employees. But, you know, you might have a vacancy next week, you might have a vacancy 6 months from now, and you might never have a vacancy till 3 or 4 years from now. So that's hard to evaluate, but just another way of looking at the problem. Real quickly, I just want to show you this first column here is the current percentage of allocation, and that's based on the salaries of everybody coming from the particular jurisdiction. As you see, Robertson County is paying 41.3%. Springfield is paying 42.20%, mainly because the supervisor is coming from Springfield. City of White House is paying 16.5%. The budget this year for dispatch is $1,248,598. So under the current allocation, the way things have been for the last couple of years, Robertson County would pay $515,502, Springfield $526,637, City of White House $206,459. If you look on the back page, you'll see the actual calls for service for the year ending June 30th, the 12-month period. You'll notice that White House did not come on board until August, so their numbers are a little low. But you'll notice that Springfield Police and Fire had 33,070 calls, which is only a little over 25% of the calls. Robertson County Sheriff's, EMS, Animal Control, and Emergency Management, is 48.4, but they also have Greenbrier Police and Fire at 5.4, and the other fire agencies at 9.4, which puts them well over 62%. And White House is 11.5 for their police and fire. Now you flip back to the front page again. If, in a true consolidation, we should all realize economies of scale. So Robertson County, even though right now they're paying a little over 41%, they ought to be paying 63.2%. We're paying 42%, we should be paying 25.3, and White House is paying 16.5, they should be paying 11.5. That's probably going to be closer to a little over 12 because they had that they didn't have a month last year. So if you take the budget, $1,248,598, and you allocate it the way it should, Robertson County should be paying $789,114. Springfield should be paying $315,895, and White House should be paying $143,589. So in the next column, variance, current, allocation to actual, you can see the swing. Robertson County should be contributing almost $275,000 more. We should be paying about $210,000 less, and White House should be paying almost $63,000 less. If they simply went ahead and agreed to pay half, which at least it's not fair, but at least it begins to pay some of their share. If they were to just pay half their share, if they could contribute another $136,806, we could reduce our cost by over $105,000, and White House could reduce theirs by $31,000. So the new allocations are in the right-hand form, the right-hand column. So that just gives you a synopsis of where we're at.
Thank you very much.
And then also, I did want to request respectfully, the auditors are getting ready to begin. We do need to wrap up the current fiscal year, the last fiscal year, I'm sorry, June 30th. And to do that, we are going to need an extra hearing, an extra meeting just to pass budget, the amended budget on second or third reading, so that we could have the budget, the books ready for the auditors after the September 18th meeting. So anytime during the remainder of August or first part of September would help.
Just have one, well, you can't even get a notice in the paper now, so.
Yeah.
Let's look at September the, how about
September the 4th.
September 3rd is Labor Day.
September, no, the 4th is the day after Labor Day, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's about midway, does that suit you all right? Will be a short meeting, 7 o'clock. Can you handle that?
When, sir?
On Tuesday, September the 4th, the day after Labor Day. Short meeting. Back part? Yeah, we can do it at lunch.
11:30?
You want 11:30 or Mr. Ellis said he's awful busy. We'll try to tear him away from his schedule.
Somebody pick him up.
I don't know, what, is 11:30 or 12 suit you better? Willie, you got any?
11:30, I would say, with me.
Let's say 11:30 on September 4th.
Hoping I don't have a trip
11:30
that day.
a.m. I want to compliment the board on their deliberations tonight and the thought that, and the concern that you expressed, particularly in that one matter. This isn't easy, and I think this showed this tonight as clearly as anything I know. And we do the best that we can. There's two sides to it. We have to try to sort it out and do the best we can. Anything further before
Yes,
we
sir.
adjourn? Mr. Hubbard?
Mr.
Think
Mayor.
about Mr. Hurd's students out there.
Mr. Mayor and the board, the educational fight for this city, primarily with grades K through 12, has to be another one of our major priorities.
Still is.
To the citizens of Springfield who's listening to this, let us get ballistic and crazy about how the Robeson County Board of Education is doing our children. We love you all, we're proud of you all, but we're not proud with the treatment that Springfield schools are getting. Now, the root to all of our gang, functional disorder, is because of poor education to the ones who participate in it. So, board, we're not going to sit back, please. Let's make sure to this new Board of Education, we let them know we're not going to tolerate that. We also let them know that they want to get someone who's going to be the superintendent of schools that's going to look at the Springfield schools and stop trying to be nice and kind to these people, okay? We're still in a failing situation with our schools. And these children are our number one priority. That's all I have to say.
Without objection, we're adjourned.